it, Karen, as the Siamese cat of wines, Pinot. Is that what you said?
What night was that?
It was a late one.
Well, Pinot Noir is the sexiest variety, so I don't know about you, but I cannot taste Pinot Noir in regular glasses.
Okay,
We're all right, all glasses on, please. It's Pinot time. Put those sunglasses on. What makes both of these Pinot Noirs very interesting, the Longoria and the Sanford, both of these were foundation wineries in Southern California. So I won't tell you very much about them because there's nothing to say, in the sense that these wines are made very artisanally. They don't even add yeast. I mean, they're truly they are made the way wines were made in Europe hundreds of years ago. And hopefully they taste and feel exciting.
I love Pinot Noir as well, as many of you know. And
We can take our glasses off.
Oh, yes. Okay. And I grew up maybe bipolar area in Russian River Valley because I grew up near Green Valley and in a portion of Russian River Valley that produces some of the finest Pinot in California. And a short few mile run to the right, I ended up in Dry Creek Valley, which produces some of the top Zinfandel in the county, or in the state. So I'm pleased that they're side by side. Thank you for that. These are two classic producers, and I don't know, maybe they think I'm getting older because they gave me all the classic producers. Did you notice that? Mondari, Segezio, Raffanelli. But I also wanted to draw attention to the fact that they're Italian. So here we go, two classic examples. Segezio's been in the region since the 1800s. I was having a debate the other day with the team. I believe it's 6th generation, but it could be 5.5 generation. Maybe one's a little too young still. And they're located in sort of northern part of Dry Creek Valley, where it is a bit warmer. So with Segezio, you tend to find the riper, richer style of Zinfandel. And I think there's just so much misunderstanding about this variety because in the last decade past, some reviewers love the richness, the thickness of it. As Karen said yesterday, the blueberry pancake syrup effect. And unfortunately pushed this grape beyond its palatability, beyond the enjoyment of the variety. And I grew up with Zinfandels from the 80s, which were relatively light, lively, aged beautifully. Segezio is a wonderful family, wonderful producers. Raffanelli, also family from the 1800s, and also in Dry Creek Valley. And I, quite frankly, was a little excited about having this Raffanelli wine because it is the example I want to show you of what Zinfandel can do in a lively, ballet dancer model of Zinfandel.
Sarah Jane, we're going on to the Broody Syrah.
Broody Syrah.
Broody Syrah.
And I have to say a moment about Zinfandel, there's something about those wines, so they're like vineyard wines, they have a character. What we have here are two wines that definitely say, we are Syrah. We're claiming to have a very distinctive, very lovely, open style. But it's never going to be the one wine that sells perhaps as much as Cabernet, which is coming to us next. But we really, really wanted to show what's happening with Syrah because I think some of the most exciting wines are happening with Syrah. Now we have two quite different ones. Wine number 10, you'll remember I said when we were at wine number 5, we should think again about number 10. And that's because the Ojai Vineyard, the man who runs it, started his original business with Mr. the Wild Child, Jimmy Clendon. And so what we have here is somebody who has thought very carefully, very seriously about winemaking, about his soils, about his Syrah grape. And I think when you taste it, it probably to me is the most original and distinctive wine on the table. It's bursting with character. It has, of course it has, very generous fruit, but it also has a word we use a lot now, which is texture. So that's the first one. Again, I think a very unforgettable wine. So that brings us on to number 11, which I think speaks more classically, perhaps, of what the Syrah grape variety is all about, that black fruit, the spice, and so on. But why I'm excited to have this is a rather cleverly chosen choice by Karen. We have here somebody who is terrifically famous for their Cabernet. One of their classic names for Cabernet Navarone. If you don't drink anything else, you go to Shaker and drink their Cabernet. And you go to the sites, the Stag's Leap, which must have been absolutely impossible to develop when they first started, because it's not easy land at all. So it's a Shaker family, and they make these lovely red wines. So what we have here, and it's one thing we haven't mentioned at all, we have very ripe fruit here. So we have a wine that's got, we can put into a drop label, 15.8% alcohol. Now, I don't think you taste that. I can't notice that at all. I think it's so nicely balanced.
Wow, 15.8.
But it's just, and I only mention it because I don't think a single one of you would have noticed it. And to show you that the balance is something that we're all looking for, and we have it here in this glass. It's a really great example. So, two lovely Syrahs, and when you get an opportunity, also have a go with the Shaker Cat.
You know, I think one of the, Sarah Jane, one of the questions for us is relatively, the first Syrah wine to be labeled Syrah was Phelps in 1974, but it was quite alone for a good decade, and there still aren't that many Syrah producers. One of the questions I think that they have is how much can you go sort of off the deep end into the primal stream of the rum, right? I mean, because it's not a beginner's wine, Syrah, that, what I call primal stream, is a certain outrageousness that, I don't know, you just, at first, it's one of those wines that you don't like, you don't like, you don't like. At the 50th time you taste it, you think, where's this wine been all my life, right? So if you don't like these Syrahs, in which case you might not like Rhone Syrahs either, you have to, I think one has to wait, because isn't it true that happens with some varieties to all of us? At some point the light switch flips.
Well, from Syrah, we go gently and happily into some very classical territory.
Fitting that we would put Cabernet, of course, last, by virtue of its regalness as a grape, I think. Cabernet's history in California is relatively new. The grape was certainly grown 200 years ago. It's only been in the last 25 years that Cabernet has achieved real prominence, certainly in the Napa Valley, but really throughout California. Taste these with me, all right? I like to not prepare too much, but taste, so we're tasting together. The first wine is Heights Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard, named after a woman named Martha, was in 1966 the first vineyard-designated wine in California. It is today, 50 years later, still one of the most famous wines in California. When it was first made by Joe Heights in 1966, it cost $7 US. An outrageous price. Because Heights' regular Cabernet at the time cost $1.60. It is today a wine that costs, I think, $295 or so. By virtue of having earned its way all of these years to its standing as one of the great iconic Cabernets of California. You know, for me, there's a concept in wine that we all know, which is length, right? And this wine certainly does have a lot of length. But it has an idea that I've been thinking a lot about with Cabernet, which, I mean, it's a television term, it has interstitial length, meaning that between the beats of the wine, from the very second you taste it, It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The whole sensory part of the wine is long. So it's not just long in the length, it's long throughout the whole darn thing, which is, when that happens, I want to say nothing. I want to be like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of something really good. Because most wines do 1, 2, 3, 4. They certainly don't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with spaces in between. The Heights is really old school. It's very low in alcohol. It's not afraid to show its slightly green, resiny character that we associate today, a little bit more perhaps with Bordeaux than we associate it with California. But I will tell you that there are many, many producers in the Napa Valley in particular who love and continue to make this style of wine with these long echoes of, you might call it green tobacco, would classically call that in Bordeaux. But actually, in the Napa Valley, it's the smell of the hills. It's the smell of the dry, resinous mountains of the Napa Valley. All right, so ready? Everybody okay? We're going to Cardinale next. So Cardinale has gotten several of its vintages gotten 100-point scores. This is its 2012, which in the Napa Valley was widely considered. It's also a Napa Valley wine. It was widely considered a great vintage. A little bit riper maybe than the 2011, which was one of the wines that got a 100-point score. So I'm going to give it the power and elegance test when I taste it. I'm going to think about length with the whole trajectory of the wine. And then I have to say that the other thing that Napa or all California great Cabernet has to possess is a sense of precision. I don't really care what the flavors are, but I want those flavors to be precise. I don't want you to feel like you're looking at them through some fuzzy, dirty glasses or something, right? Whatever the flavors are in great wine, they need to be really precise. Let's see.
While you're tasting, I might just add that boringly commercial question here, but it's let me be the commercial one, which is to say that given the fact that Bordeaux has had a number, to just see a number of not very exciting vintages, Napa Valley has come absolutely slamming in. And this is, we know that these wines are an investment to last, that we enjoy now. Really, Cardinale is a wine that we can share together with pleasure over lunch, but it's, California really has something special here in Napa Valley for those people who want to put wines in their enjoy the very much.
And the ability of these cabs to age is phenomenal.
There's some of the greatest wines I've tasted have been aged California cabs, which are just dreamlike. So it's worth enjoying them young, but do keep a few bottles behind.
Yes, I think that's right. And there's never any wine is not a cake, right? It's not ready at a given moment. We've done the wine world consumers a bit of a disservice by maybe suggesting that there is one moment in time. More accurately, there are probably many moments in time when a great wine is great. And much of that will depend on you. All right, so we're going to move now to Ridge, one of the great classics of California. Ridge can be a little difficult to taste young because it's often a monolithic wine. You're going to have to taste under the tannin, so to speak, because the structure, that very thing that is going to allow these wines to age, is going to feel a little bit like the curtain in front of the flavor. I'm going to argue that, like music, when you turn an old-fashioned radio dial in just right, when the wine is great, you can hear like hear the music, you can hear the flavor really well. So this is going to be a little bit harder by virtue of just this wine's massive amount of tannin. That said, though, it is one of the ways that I think of tannin and flavor is picture and frame, right? The frame is the structure. The picture is the fruit and the flavors. This wine right now is showing its big frame. Its picture is there, but what you're seeing mostly right now, perhaps, is frame. Let me give it a try. I think one of the things that Ridge possesses is a beautiful richness of flavor, not just fruit, but flavor, without it being overbearingly dense and heavy and weighed down by winemaking. Even though this is a big wine, it is still, you can feel, I think, a bit that if we were to, I don't know, will you all come back like in 10 years? Will you all come back? If we get the same wines, will you all come back? But I do think that if we were here 10 years from now, this would be light on the street.